Hello, welcome back. My name is Lori Fulkerson. I'm here to talk about music. Well, I'm not really going to talk about it. I have four amazing artists who are going to play various different instruments for you over the next hour. So, what is multiculturalism without some music? So, let's bring on these great artists. First up, we have Glenn from Trinidad and Tobago, and he has the cotro. So, we're going to learn more about this instrument and be able to hear him play.
Hello, everyone. My name is Glenn Casa, as I was introduced from Trinidad and Tobago, and today I will talk about and play a bit of what the instrument is correctly called the Venezuelan cuatro. Cuatro, if anybody knows very rudimentary Spanish, like uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Cuatro is four, and it's because the instrument has four strings. Um, and again, for people who know a little bit of music, the tuning of the instrument with the four string is A, D, F sharp, and B. The similar instrument in North America, the closest similar instrument would be the ukulele, which also has four strings, but it is tuned differently. I guess traditionally the ukulele is tuned G, C, E, A, and the baritone ukulele might be D, G, B, E. But the cuatro is tuned A, D, F sharp, B. And some people might be asking the question, well, why is the guy from Trinidad talking about the Venezuelan cuatro? Well, um, maybe 30 seconds of history to explain that. Um, Trinidad was once colonized by Spain and was under Spanish rule. And during that time, the Spaniards sent various people to the island to indoctrinate the natives and govern. And among them were some Capuchin monks who came from an area that was rich in music and culture in Spain, and they brought their music. And because Trinidad is very close to Venezuela. Some people might not realize this either. Trinidad is the very last of the Caribbean islands, the very most southerly. And on a clear day, at the southwest point of Trinidad, we can see Venezuela. So I guess because the Spaniards were in control and Venezuela close proximity and Spanish speaking, there was some exchange, and the Spanish influence has remained, and we use the Venezuelan cuatro from now on. I'll just call it the cuatro. It's a very popular instrument in Trinidad, and the widest use of the cuatro is for a particular type of music played at Christmas time called parang music, and it's very heavily influenced by Spanish, Latin, Hispanic, and so I will play a couple of the parang songs. The parang songs generally speak about the events of Christmas. So the cuatro is most commonly used for parang music, and I will do a chorus of the most popular chorus in parang music, and it's called Sereno. And I will demonstrate two different type of strums. So the Sereno goes. Sereno, 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 será. Ese son sereno de la madrugada. Sereno, 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 será. Ese son sereno de la madrugada. That's a popular, easy strum for the parang music. It could get a bit more complicated, and I will demonstrate the same chorus with a different strum. Sereno, 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 será. Ese son sereno de la madrugada. Sereno, 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 será. Ese son sereno de la madrugada. So that was a demonstration of how the cuatro is used in parang music. The cuatro is very popular, as I said, most people who play the quattro in Trinidad don't, well, a lot of people, you don't have to, no, most people don't have formal music training because the quattro, they grow up around a quattro and the people will learn to play the quattro. It's simple in that it's not as, well, it's not as complicated as a guitar because the guitar has 6 strings and the quattro has 4 strings. It's easier to learn. And it has become um, a very versatile instrument. So it's not, it uses all forms of, well, almost all forms of music in Trinidad. And it apart from being used in parang, you could it's very popular in folk music, like folk groups, folk singing groups use a quattro as well. Calypsos, the quattro is has you know, it's versatile enough that the strum, you can use it for the different genres of music. So I will now sing a little bit of a what is referred to as an old time calypso strumming.
Glenn,
Strumming.
Glenn,
Hello,
are you able to tilt your camera down slightly so we can see more of the instrument when you're playing?
is that better?
That should work. Thank you.
Okay, yes. So okay, so I'll do a little bit of a calypso. When I was small, Granny said to me, young man, never ever worry. Worries make your problems bigger and bigger and makes you lead a life of torture. She told me, as a matter of fact, throw all your worries behind your back. Keep in touch with the Almighty for guidance, love, and serenity. And she told me, never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. Never ever worry. Don't mind how you're suffering bad. Never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. Always remember, somebody suffering more than you. Good. So there we have played the quattro for some parang music, and we have played it demonstrating what the traditional calypso strum. I said it's very, very popular in folk music. I'll do a bit of what I think is a widely popular Caribbean folk song. So the quattro being used as a folk instrument in folk music. It as I said, it's so versatile that we in the Caribbean, of course, we play all types of music, and the music crosses over from one island to the other. And reggae music is popular, of course, not only in the Caribbean but worldwide. And I will just again strum a little differently for a bit of reggae. Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing gonna be alright. Good. So I think I've demonstrated how widely the quattro can be used, and I've given you a little bit of history about how come a Venezuelan cuatro is popular in Trinidad. And so the first type of music we spoke about, the parang music, is alive and well in Trinidad and up to today. There are parang festivals with, I don't know, not hundreds, but scores, many bands, parang bands participating, and the traditional parang songs are still sung in Spanish. Of course, there is a crossover between calypso and parang called, or soca and parang called parang soca, or soca parang, and even a crossover with parang and East Indian music, which is popularly called chutney parang at this time. So I think that's it for my demonstration, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Okay, so we did have a question. We have a couple of questions and comments. And I must say that I love the songs, and your Deo song, I think is my dad's favorite song. It's what he likes to sing all the time. So I appreciate that you were able to present that to us today.
Okay.
So the question was, if you already play like an acoustic guitar or electric guitar, how difficult or how easy is it to be able to then, learn to play the quattro?
It's very, if you already play a string instrument where you make chords and stuff and you strum, it's extremely simple. Because the complicated thing when you're learning to play a stringed instrument like this, where you with the left hand makes the chords and the right hand strum is the coordination between the two hands. And if you already have that, you're home free, because it's just a matter of learning the chords. And if you know chords on the guitar, then some of the chords are similar, or a little less complicated on the quattro. So it's very simple if you already know another instrument.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much for sharing with us. We are now going to go to our next presenter, which is Emmett, and he has African drumming. So we're just gonna switch over to our next person. Here we are.
Hello, hello.
You're all set.
Today I'm going to be playing the djembe for you guys. My name's Emmett. I'm a grade 11 student at GCVI, and I've been playing the drums for essentially my whole life. I was gifted a djembe when I was right when I was born, and I played it to a rhythm, and my parents said, well, this kid's going to be a musician, and I've stuck with that, and I've continued playing drums to this day. With the djembe, I'm a self-taught player. I never really took lessons for this, but I do play the drum kit and some other percussion instruments that I have received lessons for. I'm going to be doing some improvisation for you guys today, so it's not really a planned set song. It's just playing music and hoping it sounds good. Thank you. So the djembe is originated from West Africa. It's made out of wood. It's a string-bound instrument with a goat skin head, and it's commonly decorated with traditional African art. Throughout the pandemic, it's really helped me stay sane and stay occupied, playing drums, things like that. Music is, I've had an abundance of time to create and explore lots of different possibilities with music. With drumming, I've been playing it forever, and I use some of the jazz experience that I have to work on improvisation with all types of instruments. So yeah, it helps me feel a bit more connected with my ancestors. Like Glenn, I am of Trinidad and Tobago descent, but that means that my ancestors come from Benin and Togo in Africa, and this is a Western African drum, so it makes me feel like I'm in tune with them and share some of the experiences and art that they created, and now I use that art in my everyday life. So it makes me feel good, makes me feel connected.
Emmett, we're unable to hear you right now.
How's that?
No.
Hear me now? Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me now?
Yeah.
No, neither one are working.
Oh, it's working on my end. Can you try
Hold on, let me talk to the others.
Is that coming through?
It is coming through on my end. We have some yeses in the audience as well.
Okay, you're good now.
Okay. So now I'll give you guys a little bit of a rundown of how the drum works and how you achieve different sounds from it. So in the middle of the drum, you get that deeper tone, and you lift the bottom of the drum up. Let me show you here. The bottom of the drum has a hole in it so that the sound comes out, and when you lodge it in between your legs so that it comes just off the ground, and you get a deeper sound and a nicer, fuller tone from the drum. Closer to the edge of the drum, you get a snappier, higher pitched noise that is just a it's a great sound. You get lots of different sounds, and when you combine them together, you get the djembe, you get the African drumming that my ancestors created, and I'm still making that art today. So in between the edge and the middle, you get a medium tone. It's not too high, it's not too low, but it's a great sound. And yeah, you put it all together and it comes out great. I'll play for a few more minutes for you guys, and then yeah, any questions and things like that will be welcomed. All right, thank you very much for listening. If you guys have any questions, anything like that, I'm very open to them.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have a djembe at church, and like after hearing your story and I guess your passion, seeing your passion, hearing your passion for this, it's bringing a whole new light as to really what this instrument holds and what this instrument is. So thank you for that. You mentioned that you kind of self-taught, like you taught yourself how to do this, and you're only in grade 11, so super impressed and wow. But are there other, like, have you attempted formal training, or did you kind of learn off other things, or how?
For for my like hand drumming percussion experience, it's mostly all self-taught, but I have taken drum lessons, piano lessons, and all types of other instrument lessons, and I play in the Guelph Youth Jazz Ensemble. I played drums and percussion for them. So I
Well
have
done.
experienced some formal training, but for this instrument specifically, I've never really gotten training for it. It's just something that I've played my whole life, so it kind of, I don't know, increasingly got better, I guess. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And like I said, super impressed. I could totally do another, 10, 20 minutes of you, but unfortunately I have to cut you off and go on to our next. But thank you so much. And this was great. And I hope to see you again, either at the festival next year, or even through your performances and stuff. So yes, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. All
All
right.
right. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have Olivia, and I hope I pronounce this correctly, but with the Chinese Sither, did I get that correct? She's on mute. She'll correct me in a second. Olivia, is it the Sither?
Yeah, it's the Chinese zither.
There we go. Perfect. This instrument is huge. It's enormous, and I must say you look gorgeous right now. So I'm excited to hear you play. So I will let you have it. Let you go.
So start with some introduction. My name is Olivia, and I'm currently a grade 12 student from Centennial CVI, and I'm going to be attending post-secondary, and I'm going to University of Waterloo to study electrical engineering. And for this instrument, it's called Chinese zither, where the actual name is guzheng. It's, as you can see, it's very big. It's about 65 inches or 1.6 meters long. And in front of me, there are 21 strings. A lot of people say it's a sideway harp, and I do agree. It's pretty similar to a harp. But the thing very different is that we have these bridges in the middle, and these bridges are used to tune the instrument. And unique thing about some Chinese instrument or this instrument is that we use a scale called pentatonic scale instead of the scale that we're used to here. And this scale is, we only have 5 notes for the octave instead of 7. And that makes it kind of hard to play this instrument, is that we have to create the other 2 sounds by pressing the string, instead of just like, you can press it down on a key on a piano, so it's a bit harder. And yeah, so I can play my first song right now, and this music is from a TV show, that's very popular TV show from China. Okay, I'll start right now. Okay, so that's the first song. And something about me playing this instrument, so I've been playing this instrument since I was 3, and until now it's about 14 to 15 years, and I really loved it. And I wasn't really passionate about playing it when I was younger because it was stressful to practice, it was boring to practice all the basic stuff, but now that I'm pretty fluent at playing stuff, it's fun to be able to find some pieces I love and play on this instrument. And my next music is also a song from a TV show, and this is a bit shorter, and I'll start right now. Okay.
This is fantastic, Olivia. Wait, can you talk again? I can't hear you.
I cannot hear too.
You were very, very faint.
Is it better now or? Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with it. How was the music though? Can you hear it?
We can kind of hear you. If you can hear me, I'll speak because we have many, many compliments to give to you. Again, for your outfit, people are loving your outfit right now. People are impressed, super impressed with the music. And actually, I made a comment in the comments there that if I ever got married, I would have you at my wedding. So in that sense, I know it's a pipe dream. I'm just putting some things out into the atmosphere with that comment. In that sense, do you ever perform? Do you ever take your massive side harp, as you call it? One, how would you transport that? And two, do you do paid gigs?
I do a lot of. I did perform a lot, and I did have to carry this huge thing. It's very complicated. Oh, a very fun thing is that they're kind of inventing or kind of making this new thing that's about 1 meter. So it's shorter. It's more convenient for the people to carry it around. And sorry, what was the second question?
Hold on, we're having technical difficulties. Let me ask my team if they can, perhaps they played with your volume.
Hi, Olivia. Could you maybe try setting your background audio with me really quickly? Your voice might be fading out just because it's in the background. Do you see a little arrow beside the mute microphone button on Zoom? If you click that arrow, there's a audio settings option. Do you see that option?
Yep.
So if you click that and then just click low on suppress background noise.
I do have that on low. Oh, 1 second.
Or she can, if she's finished playing, she can just sit in front of the camera, like where she is right now standing. She can just sit for question answer.
Yeah, that as well. Just make sure you're speaking really loud because we're finding it a little bit difficult to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me right now? Though?
You can sit right there, Olivia. Like you don't have to go back to your instrument.
Okay. Okay, I'll just be like this. Okay, right here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Sorry, what was the second question?
The questions were, one, how do you transport your massive instrument? And do you take reservations? Do you play at gigs?
So I don't know if you heard my answer, but I'll answer it again. So I do I have performed at several places before, and it is very difficult to carry this thing. A good thing is that they're inventing the smaller version of the Chinese zither for us to be able to carry it around, and I'm very excited about that. And so I don't think I play any paid gigs, so yeah.
Hey, it might be something for the future. You know, you'll need something when you go to university, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. We can hear you really well now, so I'm not sure what happened there, but this is great. So you've been playing this since you were 3.
Yeah, I did.
Wow. That's amazing, and that's all dedication. I'm gonna say I attempted to play piano when I was little, and that didn't go very far for that same reason you said. It was like it was boring. It was like you didn't want to you didn't want to continue learning it. It was just like you want to be out. Well, for me, I want to be out playing with my friends instead of playing piano. But you stuck with it, and you sound amazing. I think there was a comment. Do you do lessons at all?
You mean like me learning it or teaching
Do you
it?
teach?
I do teach 2 students right now because I'm like going to university. It's very busy. So yeah, just for fun. Not like professional thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just check the chat, see if there's any other questions. I think we're good on questions, but I have a request. Can we have one more song before you end?
One more song. Let me find the music, like the sheet music. So I found one more if you want to hear that.
That would be perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. Have to come to the front again.
Well done. Well done. Everyone is just the comments coming in that it's so majestic. You're amazing. This has been a delight. Thank you so much for joining us. And for allowing me to put you on the spot for that last presentation. And I'm a loss at words. I'm just going to stop talking because I'm a loss for words right now. But thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to move from you, Olivia. Thank you so much. And move on to the last presenter of the afternoon of our musical instruments, of course. And this is Bill Harvey, and he has a variety of instruments that he will be displaying for us. So we'll just transition over to Bill.
Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for having me. I'll add to the compliments for Olivia. That was incredible. I'm kind of having to rouse myself now. I felt like I was going to float away in a magical sleep there or something. It was so soothing, that music. So I'm going to try and show in a fairly short amount of time 3 different percussion instruments, the congas that I have in front of me, the bongos, which I'll show you shortly, behind me, the timbales. And I'm going to do this all in the context of a type of Latin music called salsa, which is a type of music I love. I've loved for years, and I have a real passion for not just listening to and now playing, but dancing is a big part of that too. And the music and the dancing really tie together. I won't talk too much about myself, but Glenn, I think, had mentioned, he'd asked the rhetorical question, what's a guy from Trinidad, what's a guy from Trinidad playing a Venezuelan instrument? So you might probably deserve having the same rhetorical question. What's a guy like me playing Latin music and salsa for? I'm almost 50. I grew up in Fergus with zero Latin background in terms of my family, and certainly didn't really get exposed to any sort of Latin music until my 20s. But I have had the good fortune of now being part of a 12-piece salsa band that's based out of Guelph. We've had the pleasure of playing many shows, including past Guelph multicultural festivals, the in-person kind. And we've played at Salsa at St. Clair and Salsa at Blue Mountain, etc. So anyway, that's a little quick background on me and why I'm here with these instruments. So I want to give a little bit of background on the idea of syncopation, which is a musical term, and it's really big in Latin music and in modern dance music as well. And it's the idea, just generally put, of having notes in unexpected places where your ear or mind, where it's accustomed to hearing certain sounds, having certain patterns of music, hears things often in offbeats, in the spaces between the notes where you'd expect them. And you find that a lot in Latin music. I'm going to show you something really quickly on the timbales here, which I'll get back to in a moment. But this is a rhythm, and actually it has African origins. It developed over the years, and this style became kind of popular in the 70s in New York. So I wanted to play you that. It's not actually a rhythm you would find in salsa music, but hopefully you can just kind of feel a little bit of tension and release, and you just kind of feel something when you have a syncopated rhythm. So I'm going to move now to showing some of the instruments. In salsa music, you have a basic structure where you have verses, and then you shift into the higher dynamic choruses. And that's where, in terms of the vocals, if you're familiar with Latin music at all, you start to get the call-response dynamic, where the lead singer will sing something, often improvised, and then you'll have the chorus singers sing. And when you switch from that lower dynamic to the higher dynamic, the music changes as well. So probably talked enough and should play some more instruments here. So these are the congas, and you can have many drums, but you at least have two, a low and a high drum. And if you're the conga player, you're playing a salsa song and the verses starting off, you'd have a pattern kind of like this. This is the standard pattern. Now, in the background of salsa music and a lot of Latin music, you have a structure. It's a 2-bar musical pattern called the clave. And in some music, the clave is being played all the time. And in other types, it's just in the background and understood. So if you're probably, everyone's familiar here with a rock concert where a stadium full of people or even a small bar, and the band is roaring along, and the lead singer will say, "Everyone together," and they'll have their hands, and they'll just be clapping like that. Well, in Latin music, the clave is that underlying beat. It's a little more complex than that. And I'm going to see if I can play here a little sample of that. This is a live recording of music. I'm just going to play a little section, and you can hear the audience, what they do.
Battery, 40%.
No.
Connected to iPhone and Ingrid Harvey's iPhone. Connected to iPhone and Ingrid Harvey's iPhone. Ingrid Harvey's
No.
iPhone.
Sorry, not working. Anyway, the rhythm goes like this. Can be played the other way, but I won't get into that. So just to play this with that clave going. So when you're listening to salsa music, whether it's recorded or you have a chance to see it being played live, and you hear people sometimes in the crowd or they're actually playing that beat, that's just a foundational rhythm that is happening underneath. So when we switch to the chorus of a salsa song, it opens up with this drum here. So I'll start. So it'll open up here. So moving along, just going to take a look at the time here. I'm doing okay. So the other instrument that is part of this whole arrangement in the percussion section of salsa band are the bongos. And it's just like what I described for the congas, where there's parts that the bongo player will do during the verses, they'll switch usually to a cowbell during the higher dynamic choruses. So here's the same basic pattern, or it's a different pattern, but this is the basic pattern for the bongos. So I want to show that high pitch. That's a really distinct sound that you'll hear in bongos, and you can't hear that sort of pitch from the congas. And this is an interesting instrument. It has a lot more flexibility than the congas or the timbales that I'll show you in a bit. And there's a lot more room to improvise on the bongos than the other instruments, in part because they're not as loud of an instrument, so it won't actually clash with the other things that are going on. So you'll find that bongo players will just you'll see their hands moving around a lot. They'll be bubbling away, making little sounds. So I'll just play a little bit more just so you can hear some of the sounds. So the bongo player will be playing that, and if you are watching a concert, you'll often see the bongo player will, when the chorus comes, put their bongos down, and then they will grab a bell, and they'll play a pattern on it. There's, like the congas and the bongos, all sorts of patterns out there, but the basic pattern that you would hear in the 2/3 clave that I was showing you would be like this. And of course, I'm only able to play one instrument at a time here, so it's maybe difficult to imagine how they all fit together, but that's one of the exciting things I find about salsa and the percussion section in particular, is that when you're in a band, you talk about everything locking together. And if things are a little bit displaced, then it frankly could sound a little bit messy and not very nice. And if you've got people dancing, then you can actually see it in them. If you start to drift and there's sort of a push and pull going on, when everything is crisp and locked together, people aren't just sort of randomly playing notes here. There's notation for everything that we play, although there is room for improvisation at certain points. So I'll move on now to the last instrument I want to show, which are the timbales. And there were some questions earlier about, how did you learn? I was self-taught in the beginning. I've had the good fortune of taking some lessons along the way, but I mentioned my age at the beginning, soon to be 50, because when I first started listening to this sort of stuff and kind of falling in love with the rhythms, but never having the benefit of seeing an actual salsa band, I could figure out, well, that's probably the sound of a conga drum, and that's maybe bongos. But I thought to myself, what the heck is making that sound? It sounds like metal, but I don't know of any instrument that could make that sound. Well, it wasn't until I had a chance, this was back in the early 90s, I actually had a chance to see a salsa band, and it was eureka. There's someone playing an instrument like this called the timbales, and they play on the metal shells. So the basic pattern on the timbales during the verse is this. So I was playing the clave beat there just to let everyone hear it again and how it fits in with that pattern. So there's all sorts of things you can do in this. I was just playing with one hand. A lot of times you'll see the timbale players in the verse playing with two hands. So in the spaces between my notes on this hand, I'm playing notes here. So how does the timbale player go from that verse section to the higher dynamic chorus? It's to be done in lots of ways, but it's typically done as follows. So it's a shot and a roll. There's different types of roll, different lengths, and then you move to the bell. And again, I was playing, while I played the bell pattern, the clave. I would never play in a concert or even rehearsal unless I feel like the band's unstable and the unifying sound. The clave will help kind of pull everyone back together. It's just an unused, understood beat in the background. The last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just attach this bell here. I mentioned how I don't have the benefit of playing all these instruments at once to show you how they fit together, but just to show you, give you a taste maybe of how things can fit. I've attached the bell that the bongo player would have just up here, and just show you how these two bell patterns fit together. So again, the bell pattern I played that the bongo player would play would be like this. The pattern I was playing as a timbale player on this is so that hopefully, at least for those two bells, shows you how things are composed in order to fit together. I hope you can appreciate that there was sort of a unity in those two sounds there. So maybe I'll stop there. I've shown everyone the instruments and maybe given you a little bit of a feel of what happens and how they fit together in the context of salsa music.
Wow, that was awesome. And I especially like that you said how you're 50 or almost 50, because it's super inspirational. It's anyone who's willing to learn an instrument. You're not too old, not to call you old because you're really not much older than me, but yeah, so super inspirational. We've had a lot of comments come in. They're just super impressed in learning of all the different instruments and how they work and the sounds that come from them. And we had a request for you to do some additional music playing. I want to say on the back set. What would your last thing?
This one here?
Yes.
Sure. I can play a little bit more on that.
Cool. What is the name again?
Yeah, they're called timbales.
There we go.
Yeah, so I'll play a little bit, and actually, since there's interest in it, the instrument is interesting, and it in a way kind of embodies the creation of salsa music. Not to get back into talking again too much, but a lot of people are surprised to know that salsa music started in New York City. The salsa music that people would be familiar with today, or if you were to buy a salsa album, that was born in late 60s, 70s in New York City. But of course, it came from people from different backgrounds that arrived to that city. And a lot of them were from Puerto Rico, from Cuba, and there was a whole musical formation that spanned over hundreds of years. Of course, African rhythms that were brought over with the slaves. And then you would also have, and this sort of melding happened over hundreds of years, you would have instruments like this, which are actually more from Europe, from European courts. You have melodic instruments like trumpets and trombones, and all of these kind of eventually mixed in an interesting way. So the origin of this instrument, more than anything, is probably from France. So again, timbales. So. So there's a little more.
That was great. I was starting to kind of, get into the dancing. Since you mentioned dancing earlier, I feel like with COVID, we haven't been able to do a lot of the music and the dancing, the stuff that realistically would probably relax us more and make us less stressed. But thank you so much. This was fantastic. I think we're good for our time now. So thank you again. And thank you to everyone who has been sharing their musical delights with us for the past hour or so. So that's what we have for right now. The festival's going to take about an hour break, and then we'll be back at 3. So thank you so much, everyone. And I hope to see you soon.